Welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel, everyone. This is Rich making another video on XRP today, as usual. Swift and XRP related publications are coming from. However, there must have been 6 distinct articles, each with slightly different wording. More than 11,000 banks successfully tested XRP on Swift's network, according to a former Swift staffer, suggesting a possible spike in demand. Swift was reportedly close to reaching a deal with Ripple to use XRP for payments on March 21 Saint. However, I believe that to be bogus news, as the post was removed shortly after it was published. However, all of a sudden, we have individuals publishing articles about this. I understand people are irritated. Their goal is for the market to recover. Their goal is to generate excitement for XRP. When the moment is right, it will move. Let's examine the facts regarding Swift, the starting point. In a February 2017 interview, Chris Lorson, one of the co-founders of Ripple, stated that the company had met with the Bank of International Settlement. Listen to it. We've had meetings with Biz. They appear to be more of a rule. Yes, in terms of conventional settings. Therefore, we are undoubtedly aware that central banks will be involved. The Bank of England is producing a lot of pretty amazing stuff. To be honest, the Bank of Japan currently believes that Japan is actually setting the standard for innovation in this field. In actuality, the Fed has been quite helpful. Have numerous individuals researching on the implications of these technologies. There are numerous international organizations and central banks involved, which, in my opinion, lends it some legitimacy when viewed through the lens of credibility. You have distinct regulators and enforcement personnel, so it's not exactly like the reg, but it does assist. It makes the banks more at ease. He therefore verified the Fed and Japan Bank of England. I've met with the best, he added. In light of this, Ripple has joined the cross-border payments task team. This occurred in August 2023. Then the BEST began working on all of these projects, which are all based on XRP and RippleNet technology. However, they also united Ripple with MasterCard and Swift, which was another excellent move. It's right here. Does Swift collaborate with Ripple? Of course. We are aware that this is taking place. Ripple resolves all of Swift's issues, but it is absurd to overhype it beyond what is necessary. They're simply creating hype around post and article after article. I mean, here are Swift's comments as of November 22 and the coexistence period will end in 2025 when Swift is withdrawn. What does this signify? They will have implemented ISO 222 so that there more than 11,000 financial institutions may use this new standard, which is organized in a way that makes it possible to interact with both CBTs and cryptocurrency. Listen to it. Oh, right. And at this point, I believe it could be beneficial to discuss a little bit more about the actual meaning of the November 25 end of cohabitation for payment instructions. In practical terms, this means that the coexistence period for cross-border payments instructions ends on November 22, the day the standards are released. We shall therefore no longer permit the transmission of fin payment instructions between financial institutions on the network, and all payment instructions must now be sent in ISO 222 format. Because instructions convey a systemic importance to the end-to-end interoperability between payment market infrastructure and financial institutions, we do this, and it is crucial to complete the cohabitation and protect the data from beginning to conclusion. The big question is now, will the banks exit the private ledger testing phase at this point? Perhaps it occurs with ISO 222. However, what about their perspective on Bitcoin? Because XRP is politically neutral, anyone can use it anywhere that is not under central bank supervision. The problem is that while Everyone's attention is focused on Bitcoin. Central banks have been secretly working with Ripple to develop the infrastructure necessary to deploy XRP. Black Swan Capitalist is the source of that, and I see that taking place at the moment. Instead of looking where you should be looking, they want you to look over here. Pete, your money should be stored in a utility, but they want it parked in Bitcoin. Additionally, this is pretty large. Adrian Harris, the NYDFS superintendent, was at a roundtable with Jack McDonald, senior vice president of stable currency at Ripple. The topic of conversation was how governing cryptocurrency assets are changing to create a framework that strikes a balance between innovation and market stability. They investigated the coordination that would be required between national and international regulators. Why, therefore, is that so crucial? Because here is Adrienne Harris, the superintendent of the NYDFS right here. Listen to her thoughts regarding a BIT license. One of the biggest game changers in the US is that Ripple has a BIT license. Consider using XRP for domestic payments. You'll see how valuable these things are. For example, why are they there? And in my opinion, that isn't the regulator's primary responsibility. The products and tools are available, but they must be properly regulated because they have the potential to cause significant harm. Furthermore, when it comes to digital assets, DFS is the sole active prudential regulator in the nation. Thus, we have the BIT license, as you mentioned. Therefore, you need a DFS license in order to do virtual currency business in New York. Either a limited purpose trust charter or the BIT license can be used for that. The licensing procedure is extremely demanding. FTX, for example, disclosed that they were looking for New York. Neither Celsius nor Voyager received one, did they? Countless additional businesses. Thus, none of these other businesses were able to obtain a license. However, Ripple has a license. That demonstrates how revolutionary the Ripple technology is. They are setting everything up so that XRP may be used both domestically and abroad. Additionally, Bitcoin is the foundation of future finance. Ethereum served only as a test network. This is from the legend of Blue Hawk. Additionally, these publications often attempt to persuade you to invest in Bitcoin rather than XRP, but they are currently focusing on Ethereum. Do you know why? They do not want Ethereum to start to rise because that would put an end to the Bitcoin cycle if Ethereum were to start to rise and take off. They are now focusing on Ethereum because of this. The goal of all these Bitcoin maxis is to maintain the excitement. However, as I demonstrated at the start of this video, hype is unnecessary. We already have the facts. Thus, we are aware that Ripple and Swift are collaborating. The Swift system will be fixed. Additionally, we are aware that Ripple has all of the necessary licenses in place for domestic payments within the US. As of right moment, everything appears to be proceeding as planned. The story of Bitcoin V's. XRP is being subtly flipped. Smoke is the source of this. Why? Since Bitcoin is not part of the system,